Hello, hello, and welcome back. I'm Claire. This is Purple Poppy, and today I'm doing something a little bit different. Today I want to make my own roladex, and I've got two variations to share with you. Now, if you know the roladex, lots of people use them for their art projects. But I've got to be honest and say they're getting really hard to get hold of now. And if you can find one, they're not cheap anymore. And I'm a bit of a tight what's it. So if I can make it, I'm going to make it. So the first one is this book where you take a book and you fold all the pages in half. Now, this is a pocket calorie counter, which, yeah, deserves only to be changed into something else. Sorry. And you literally take your page, you fold it in half, tuck it right into that spine point and press it down. And as you come through, obviously you're going to get this lovely round. I'm going to finish this on Friday on my Ko-fi. So if you want to see this finished, you can pop on Friday to my Ko-fi and see how I finish it and decorate it. The only thing I'll say to you is that folding does take some time. I've been at it for about 2 hours. And there is, does it say? No, it doesn't say how many pages there are in there. Anyway, so that's that. So just get yourself a cheap paperback book from somewhere and fold it. The reason I went for this little pocket size, which is just under 5 inches, is it's not going to take up too much space on my desk. That was the idea. Okay, so we'll finish that on Friday. But what I'm going to concentrate on today is more of a drawer type. So I've got myself this narrow cereal box, and as you can see, it's obviously Weetabix. I've opened up the ends. Now, normally you would cut off the top and the bottom, but we need the top and the bottom this time. Okay, so we need the top and bottom because that's going to be the back of our box. This will be the front of our box. But what we don't need is the tab and this piece here. So I'm going to cut that off straight away and get rid of that. So let's get a metal ruler and a knife. Oh, that's not a knife, is it? That's a pair of tweezers. Oh, where's my knife? That's a bit of a problem. I'll have to look for my knife. What have I done with that? Anyway, I'll use this one in the meantime. So we line that up there like that. And we cut that piece off. Okay. And then I'm going to glue my ends back together to give me this tray. Okay. So good strong bit of glue. And I'm going to, this is the high-tack glue. That one and that one. Okay. Bend them in, bring that up, and just basically put your box back together. Make sure that it's square, because the thing with this box is the flaps don't go to the edge. You see, there's that return area, so don't, check that before you start gluing it back together. Otherwise you're going to end up with a box that's not square. Okay, so that's that one. Then I'm going to do exactly the same on this one. glue this back in. Oh goodness me, tassel on the glue lid. Okay, bring that up and stick that down. Now you can see it's a bit flimsy on the sides there because it's quite long. I'm not worried about that because once we decorate it and we've put all that glue and paper or cardstock on it, that's going to stiffen right up. But what I am going to do is cut these ends off and pop them in there. It's alright, I'm half-heartedly looking for my knife, I can't help it. Anyway, so cut that one off there and cut that one off there like that. Okay, and then I'm going to glue that level to the top as it would have been before. Okay, so picking up my glue again, glue, glue that in there, so that it's level again. Okay, often think it's like being at kindergarten, you know, we cut bits of cardboard up, we glue them back together again. Oh dear. So basically we're children that never grew up, aren't we? That's what it amounts to. Make sure it's level and stick that down there like that. Okay, now you can decide how you want to decorate it. Obviously I think that, as always, I'm going to use book page, just basic book page, and then when I've, oops, she says can't, when I've got it all covered, then I'll use probably napkins. So I'll just fold my book page into like 3, and I'll just come round like that, get that glued on, and then another one. This one I might go straight, and just keep going until the whole thing's covered. That's what I'm going to do. So actually, yeah, just put a bit of glue on there, line that up and fold it round, and just keep going until my whole box is covered. Okay, now that's probably quite boring to watch, so I'll just do a few, and then you can, I'll turn the camera off and get it finished so that you don't have to watch, you know, the boring bit. And you can see already it's sticking much better. Okay, gonna whip this one a bit different. You might find it's easier to use glue stick to do this. It's, you know, whatever floats your boat, basically. Go a bit further. You don't want too small a piece going round a corner, because then it doesn't fold and it doesn't sit properly. And then that one, see, get some glue on there and a bit of glue on there. I mean, neither of these ideas, the book folded pages, or this box, are new. People have been doing this for a long time, but there's a couple of things that I'd like to do where people are using rolodexes, and I thought, you know what, I'm not paying that money for that, so I'm going to make one so that I can join in with what's going on. So that's that basically. But obviously the beauty is you get to decorate it however you like to. So I'm going to go right up to that corner on that one. We've done quite a few decorated boxes on this channel, so it's nice to do another one in a different style. Okay, so I'm just going to keep going like that. So I will turn the camera off, get that finished, and then I'll come back to you. Okay, so I've got the entire box covered now with book page, and I've got 2 bamboo skewers from summer barbecues, and I'm going to position these in to give me, you know, a holding spot for my cards. Okay, simple. Now I've done these cards to obviously fit inside my box. Okay, there's no point me telling you really the width measurement because your box is likely to be a different size, but what I've done height wise is that's 7 centimeters. So that gives me about an inch above the top, which I quite like. Or if you want a really tall one, then that's 12 centimeters. Yeah. But what I have done is I've marked 1 centimeter up from the bottom and punched my holes. So I need to now transfer that on to my box so that I can put my skewers through. So I'm going to take a pen and I'm just going to do like a circle line there so that I can see where I need to punch my holes, and then I'm going to turn it round and I'm going to do exactly the same on the other side. Make sure it's all lined up. Like so. Now I've got these various hole punches which would be great for cutting the individual cards, but because of the throat of it, it's not going far enough down, and neither will this one. So I'm going to have to make the hole by hand. So I'm going to use my awl, and then I'll show you how I make the hole bigger when, you know, the awl hole is not big enough. So I put my awl in the middle there. Make sure your fingers are not in the way. You do not want to stick this through your fingers. And then if I go all the way with my awl, make sure I've got a nice hole. Is that big enough for my skewer? Not quite. Okay, so we're going to do that again on this side. Again, move your fingers out the way because it will seriously hurt if you push your fingers with this thing with pressure. All the way through, and again here. Okay, now as we said, this is not quite wide enough for my skewer, so what I do is I take a small paintbrush, use the end to increase that hole size. Okay, try that, because we don't want it too big. There you go. Now it's going to go through. Okay, so little press with my paintbrush, soften the end up and put my awl back in. If you haven't got an awl, you could make the initial hole with something like a needle, and then you can like a sewing needle, and then you could take the actual skewer and use that. And then I'm just poking it all the way through, obviously with a pointy end, just because it makes it easier. So now I've got it going all the way through. Okay, and this one also on the other side. Oops. There you go. Okay, so I've got my holes, but I don't want to stick them in yet because otherwise it's going to be really hard to decorate. So we'll put them to one side along with my card and get rid of the toolbox. And then I've got decoupage medium, matte medium, whatever. And oops, there was obviously glue on there. Oh well. And 2 napkins. As always, it's just the top layer of the napkin that I'm using, but I'm going to snip it in half. So I'm going to snip it all the way down the middle, not being too accurate, so that I've got 4 pieces. Okay, and it's quite important that you've got a napkin like this where either the 4 corners are not exactly the same and it's just one continual pattern, or this where the corners are so random it doesn't necessarily look like 4 corners. I mean, obviously if you've got something like, I don't know, Father Christmas, it's going to be obvious they're 4 different ones. Yeah, I've got these winter napkins that I love and I'm just going to use them. So let's get the messy mat into the middle, put them up there out of the way, and I'm going to just paint on my napkin. So get my matte medium down this side, and I find that by only putting glue on the area that I'm working on makes it much easier. So I'm not too worried about the bottom. I want to go down the inner sides. So that's now stuck to that. And then if I do a little bit of glue there, I'm gonna pop that one down there. Whoops, turn it over and do the same there. Whoops. Okay, I'm going to stand it on its base and just run some glue across there. I'm not worried about the base because obviously we're not going to see that, so I'm just going to fold it in like a present or journal cover and just press that down. Okay, and then I'm going to do the inside. So same again, and again I'm not too worried about the bottom because once it's full up I'm not going to see the bottom. And just tuck that in to where it needs to live. Okay, like so. And then we get our paintbrush with our glue in that little area there, and go down from the top. And this is the bit with a tear in, which doesn't help. Okay, and then oops, obviously the same here, get some glue under there and get that stuck down there as well. Okay, so that's that side, and our wording has obviously faded into the background. I'm going to do exactly the same on this side. Take my napkin again, remembering I want it more to go inside than on the bottom. Tap that down, flip it over. Oh, didn't do our edges. See, got a bit carried away with myself there, didn't I? Do your edges first. Okay, and then flip your edge in, flip your edge in, and flip that over. Okay, and now we're going to do this side. It's not hard, it's, you know, really simple. It's just really about putting in the time, that's all. So we'll do a little bit on the edge there, because it is going to reach into the bottom. And then stick it down onto the bottom as well. And we get our glue in that corner again, and bring that down and across. Now obviously it didn't come out far enough with my glue on the bottom, so we'll have to do that in a minute. So down the side, okay, and we can see, look here, didn't get enough glue, so just pin that down. Okay, now I do want a little bit to go over my ends. I'm going to put a label of some sort on the end, but before we do that I want a bit to go over the ends. So I'll do this one. Whoops, flicking me glue everywhere now. And I know I did say only glue the bit that you want to use, or the area that you're working on, and then I got carried away with myself, didn't I? Okay, and then just bringing it over, just like you would cover anything really. The only thing is, obviously it is napkin, so it is thin, so you've got to be a little bit gentle with it, like so. And then we'll do this again, so a little bit at the bottom so that we can wrap it, pop it on, and wrap it down. turn it all the way over. Glue the other side, bit at the bottom. And there you go. That is our whole box covered. Now it does obviously need a little bit of time for that glue to dry, but I don't necessarily want it too dry because I'm going to coat it in this to make it that little bit stronger again. But now I can put my skewer in. There we go, one. And I'll find the other hole now. There. Two. Don't want to be damaging that napkin too much. And then you need to just, well, fiddle around a little bit and find your hole, which I believe is there. Yeah. And then that one, which I believe, yeah, is there. Okay, and then, oh, just gonna push that through. I mean, you do want it tight, so that's a good thing. You'd be better off leaving this napkin to fully dry before you do this, because it will start to tear. But I'm just gonna, now I've pulled it too far, see, and this is why you should really leave it to dry, because then you can handle it a bit better and go through again. But at least now we've got an easily, she says, easily viewable hole there. Oh, I've done it again. Right, last time, Claire. And don't pull it too far this time. There you go. Okay, so now I've got my box, and there's my card that obviously I can put as many in as I want. Now this is going to hold an awful lot of these, and they'll flip, you know, backwards and forwards, which is brilliant. So you may want to cut your box in half and have it much smaller, but I just went with a whole box. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a final coat of the decoupage medium to seal it all in, and then I'm going to leave it to dry. So I'm not going to fiddle with it anymore. And then when it is all dry, I'll trim off the excess of the skewers that's in there. So, and I'll do a bit more decorating on it as well. So, because I'll just gunge up with some ink the edges, give it a bit of distress, and go from there. Okay, but just before I go, while I put it down to all completely dry, I need to glue in my skewers. So I'm rubbing this around the edge like that to make sure that's well and truly glued in, and it's not going to move. And my fingers are sticking out, it's all sticking to me. And then here, around that one, and around that one. There you go. that's that, and that's going to sit and dry, and then I can ink up the edges when it's all dry. And as I say, if you want to see me finish this, I'll be doing that on Friday's project in my Ko-fi. In the meantime, thank you so much for joining me today. Stay safe. I'll see you very soon. Ta-ta for now.